Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am ready, I think, for Valentine's. I have on my trusty love shirt. And actually this came from my daughter. She was cleaning out her closet and this was one of her discards, so I said I'll be glad to take it. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about something that I've been wanting to do for a while. One of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is the makeup videos. And I love to see what all the young ladies and the women of my age like to wear in terms of makeup. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite choices. It's not because I think I know what I'm doing. Don't necessarily, as you can probably see. But makeup makes me feel better. I am 60 years old and I still feel like I need quite a bit of coverage because of dark spots and various things in my face that are imperfections, and I want to try to make it as perfect as possible as we can here on this earth. So I'm going to talk about my favorites that I enjoy, and let's just start at the beginning with foundations. There are several foundations that I enjoy using. I do have a favorite. I've always loved the Double Wear by Estée Lauder. I use Ivory Nude. It is great coverage, it feels good, and it lasts all day. So one of my favorites there. I have also used LANCOME's Teint Idole. I'm not sure how to say that exactly. Mine is in the shade, I believe it's 160 Ivory Warm. It's also not real high coverage, but I do like the coverage of it, and it feels very nice on the skin. I also have gotten, and this was a recommendation of my daughter, the FENTY Beauty. And I do like it. It's pretty high coverage, but I think the shade that I got is a little bit too warm. This is the Pro Filt'r, and the number on it was 170. Again, I think it's just a little bit too dark, but I do mix it with some of my other foundations, and it seems to be just fine. I also picked up some HUDA Beauty. At one point. I do like it. It's pretty full coverage. This one might be a little light for me. It's Vanilla 120, but it's a very creamy, almost porcelain doll-like finish, and I have enjoyed that. And then for everyday wear, if I'm not going to be going out anywhere or doing anything, I have really enjoyed the Rimmel, and this is the Lasting Finish 23-hour breathable foundation, and this one is in Fair Ivory, and it has worked pretty good. It's pretty sheer, but for being around the house, that is just fine. Now for some of my foundations that I feel like are a little bit thick, I was in a Sephora, and this was actually in Disney Springs, and a young lady recommended, this is the Becca Backlight Highlighting Primer, and I mixed this a little bit with some of my foundations that are thicker, and it gives almost a glow to the skin, and I have really enjoyed using this as well. So those are the foundations that I rotate pretty frequently, and that is the beginning of my makeup regime. Now I do use a concealer, and I had gotten the Tarte concealer that is called Creaseless, and this one was a little bit too dark for me, so I put it underneath. Of course you can't tell that today because the lighting is not the greatest. The darker one was Fair Light Neutral, and the lighter one was Porcelain Sand. Now Porcelain Sand is the lightest one they make, so it's pretty pale, but on someone whose skin is so light as mine, it really does a pretty good job of under the eye and concealing some dark spots. So I've kind of enjoyed using these two, and sometimes I mix them together just to give it a little bit different look. After concealer, then I usually go to my eyebrow, and I usually use what most everybody likes, and that is the Anastasia Brow Wiz. My color is in soft brown, even though I'm sort of a blonde. I think the blonde color is almost too light. It doesn't let my eyebrows show up. I am really losing brow hair as I age. So having a brow liner really helps with that problem. And then after eyebrows, I usually go to eyeliner. Now I have read, and I know this is probably true, that as you get older, you should probably not line your eyes. But if you were to see me without makeup, and I'm not sure that that would ever happen, I am extremely pale and my eyes are very light. I have hazel eyes and I am so light that you can hardly even see my eyes. So I do go ahead and line. I do sort of blend it out with a brush like this that has the really flat edge to it, and I blur the color so it's not quite so harsh. Now today when I'm looking at myself in the camera, it looks pretty dark, which is not my intention. But anyway, what I like to use, and I'm not sure if you say Styla or Stila, I'm pretty sure it's Styla, I'm gonna go with that. This is in the shade Lionfish, which is a brown. It has a little bit of sparkle to it, and I think I like the sparkle just because it looks not quite as dark as some of the regular brown shades. And again, I blur it out around the lower part of my eyes. And occasionally I will use the Marc Jacobs. Now I couldn't find the color on this. I don't know where it is in my trusty little peepers. Though it didn't let me see the color, but it is a grayish color. It also has a little bit of sparkle to it, but it's not so much that it looks like you're a disco queen or something. But I do like the Marc Jacobs to use if I want more of a gray look. Depends on what I'm wearing. I know you're not supposed to probably match the color to what you're wearing for the day, but if I'm wearing a lot of grays and blacks, I go with the Marc Jacobs. If I'm wearing blues and reds and other colors, I go with the Lionfish from Styla. And then after I've lined my eyes, I go with my eyeshadow. There are 3 palettes that I'm enjoying right now. My favorite one is by Makeup Forever, and this one is pretty old. And I know you're not supposed to keep palettes terribly long, but I'm pretty good about washing my brushes. I wash my brushes about every 2 weeks, really good with a shampoo mixture and then the brush cleaner that you get from Sephora. So I don't ever feel like my palettes are that dirty or bacteria laden. So anyway, this one is a pretty neutral palette. It has and you can see I have hit pan on several of these, but it has my favorite colors. There's a shimmer shade that I put right under the brow. And then these colors right here are brown shades, and they just work together very well, I think. I don't know if you can see or not, but I do blend those out, and so that they're not quite so harsh on my aging skin. And so I'm trying to be a little bit more careful with how I apply my shadows and things so that I don't look like I'm trying to be too young. Even though I want to be young, I don't want to, look silly. But anyway, I really enjoy the Makeup Forever. Now I've gone to look for this again in Sephora and other places, and they don't have a compact that has several shades in it. Now they have them where you can buy single shades at a time, which I'm not real crazy about. But I did go on the Sephora website, and they do still have the compact that has several shades in it. So these are very pigmented, and they do not have fallout, which I cannot stand for eyeshadows to have fallout where it goes underneath your eye when you're applying them. Another one that I've been pretty happy with is the Naked palette from Urban Decay. It's also really nice, has good shades for my skin color, I believe. And then another one that I'm pretty happy with is the Sultry palette from Anastasia. I love the box on this one. It just so pretty. It was so great for autumn, I thought. And the shades in it are really gorgeous. I'm not as crazy about this one right here, but I do deal with it a little bit by putting some of the rose gold on top and that sort of diminishes some of that brighter shade. But these are really lovely colors, and they go on very well, very pigmented, and not much fallout, not too bad. And then in the summer, I love to use this Tarte, yes, Rainforest of the Sea Volume 3. And oh, it is absolutely beautiful. It has really gorgeous shades in it. Also really good for my colors of my skin. There are some shimmers in it, but not so much that you look silly, I don't think. I think they blend out really, really well. And then after the shadows, then I usually go to the rest of my face. Occasionally I will use Laura Mercier bronzer. Don't use this a lot, not crazy about bronzer for my skin, but if I need a little definition here, I will use a little bronzer. It's not too terribly dark. This one is the 01 bronze, so it's a fairly light shade. And then I go to my trusty LANCÔME blush, and I just use the ones that come in free gift options. Every time LANCôME has a free gift, I always go and buy those because I do use the Teint Idole Ultra Wear. When the free gift comes up, I go purchase that again, my favorite foundation. And then these usually come in the free gift. And they're in various colors. This one is Blush Subtle Sheer Ambrose. And right now that's the one that I'm using. I have 3 different ones that I use. It's a fairly mauvey pink and not too dark on the cheeks. And I think it does a good job for blush for my aged skin. And then I know a lot of the young girls use a highlighter, and I have read that the older you get, the less highlighter you're supposed to have or supposed to use. So I have a very subtle highlighter from Smashbox. It is called the Spotlight Palette in Pearl, and they are very lovely, very pale, and don't just give you like a kabam on your face. And I usually blend all 3 together with my blending brush, and they do quite well. Now, as far as brushes, I'm not real big on buying expensive brushes. I mean, this one actually came from Ulta, and it's just an angled brush that I use for my blush. And then this one came from TJ Maxx, and I just thought it was pretty, and I use it for my highlight, not highlight, but my bronzer. And then this one is an e.l.f. brush. It's the highlighting brush with an angled end, and it works real well for highlight on the top of the cheeks. And then to blend everything together, I picked up a Sephora thick brush just for in case I want to add a little polish to my face. And I don't, now that I'm older, I'm so much drier, I don't really use a finishing powder much. But I did pick up one time, because I heard someone talk about this in their video, the Coty Airspun Loose Powder. And it's not so thick, maybe that's not the word, but it doesn't leave a lot of powder on my skin, and I dust it very lightly if I want more of a finished look. But most of the time I like the dewy look, especially now that my skin is getting older and the lines are getting more visible and all that good stuff. But even if I don't use a finishing powder, I still go over my skin with this thick brush, and it just helps me. It feels like it helps everything smooth out and look a little bit more polished. So those are the brushes that I go with. And as far as brushes for putting on eyeshadow, this is my collection. It's not terribly big, but you know, nothing very expensive. Most of these brushes came from probably free gifts from Estée Lauder or LANCôME. And then I didn't even talk about how I apply foundation. I have 2 different ways that I like to apply. And that application is with a beauty blender, a dampened beauty blender. I always wet it and get the moisture out before I put on the foundation. And then I also like to use a foundation brush. Now I had a Styla brush that I absolutely adored. And I wore that thing completely out and I have not been able to find it. So one time I was looking in Target and I went to the Sonia Cusack, I hope that's how you say the name, brush area. And I found one of these flat brushes, foundation brushes. This one's pretty good. It's a little bit larger than the one that was made by Styla. And I can deal with it, it's okay. But I miss my Styla. I don't know. It's either one is okay to put on foundation with. I've completely stopped using fingers, but this I rinse out daily. After I've used it, I rinse it out, I soak it out, and then I let it dry. And then this one, I rinse it out daily. I do not want any bacterial infections or whatever it could cause on my skin. I'm pretty picky about all of that. So these get washed out every day. Other brushes get washed probably, like I said, every couple of weeks or so. All right, I didn't mean to go back to the foundation, but I did want to mention how I do the application. Now, after we've gotten on the highlighter, then we are ready for mascara. And my favorite mascara of all time is the LANCôME Hypnose Drama. And I have used every mascara I think that's out there on the market. Every time I hear someone talk about it on their YouTube channel, I go buy one and try it. And I always end up going right back to Hypnose Drama. It is the best for me. Everybody's got a different skin texture, and my eyelashes are extremely thin and very light. They're fairly long, not too bad, not to where I have to feel like I need to wear false lashes or get lash extensions. But I think this one does pretty well for that. And it's just my go-to. It is the holy grail for me of mascaras. Now, I've learned a trick. I used to use L'Oreal Voluminous Mascara constantly before I went to the LANCôME Hypnose Drama. And I went back to it for a while, the L'Oreal, didn't like it. And then came out with a shade that's burgundy. And here's what I do. Rather than putting on, there's a mascara that you can use as a base and it's white. That never worked for me. So one day I just tried the burgundy on my lashes, which really doesn't show up that much. And then I put the Hypnose Drama over the burgundy. Oh my word, it made the biggest difference in the world. It also made my lashes darker, thicker, but not clumpy at all. Because I don't think Hypnose Drama is clumpy. I don't really feel like Voluminous is clumpy either, but the two together, okay, I have found it. I mean, I really like it, to the point that as soon as this is empty, I've got to go get another one. And I'm going to keep doing this until it doesn't work anymore. But I don't know, try that trick. I never thought of layering mascara, especially 2 different companies, to get the effect that I want. And I've really enjoyed doing that. It's a pretty good trick. Okay, after the mascara, then I'm ready for lips. And I go back and forth with lips with 2 different options. I do use a liner at times, and this one is Le Crayon from LANCôME, and it is in the shade Nude. And if I'm staying home, I don't necessarily have to have a lipstick that's not going to rub off. I mean, I prefer to do that, but okay, if I'm going to stay home, line the lips, and then I go with my 3 choices of Kat Von D. These are my 3 choices. And those colors are Double Dare, which is my favorite, Lolita, and Lolita 2. Now these, not totally my favorite. I kind of go back and forth with these, but the Double Dare is just perfect for lip color. And they do stay on very well. They don't come off bad at all, but they're very flat. And I like to have a little bit of a shimmer. So to make them shine a little bit, I have gone with this company, Soap and Glory. And I hate the name of this. I don't even want to say it. I just hate it. Anyway, it is a plumper that you put on. For me, it was over the lipstick, and I really like these. Again, Soap and Glory, very shimmery shades. I have one that's more of a pearl and one that has just a little bit of a bronze maybe effect to it, and these layer over the Kat Von D colors very well and give me that shimmer that I prefer to have, or that shine that makes your lips look a little bit more juicy, I guess you would say. And so those are what I used for that. Now today, my sister sells lip scents, which if you've ever heard of lip scents, I might have to do a video review of lip scents. There's a lot of controversy about these, whether or not they're good for your lips or not, but I am trying them and I do very much like them. This one is persimmon, and what I like about the lip scents is that you can layer them. So over the persimmon, I put the caramel latte, I believe is what it's called. And it gives me a really nice color. And then if you're familiar with lip scents, you know that when you put them on, they almost have a burning sensation, not to the point that it hurts, but they do have that tingling sensation. They dry very quickly, and you're supposed to put on up to 2 to 3 coats of the color. I do it if I want to. You don't have to, but it kind of gives it a little bit deeper color if you do. And then once you're finished with this, you're supposed to put on the clear, but they also have options. This one is a pearl color to put on top, and that's what I did today. Gives you that shimmery shine that's very pretty. And then they have some glitter shades that I really enjoy. There's a pink glitter, a silver glitter, and a gold glitter. And it's not like kabam kind of glitter. I mean, you can work with them so that the glitter is not so out there, and they really look nice on the lips. But I really prefer just the plain color, the clear, and the pearl is one that I would highly recommend. So that is my makeup regime. This is what I do, and I really enjoy it. Don't know that I do it correctly necessarily, but it is fun to hear what other people use and the products that they prefer. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to this, and maybe you have some of the same favorites, and maybe you have some recommendations. I would love to see that in the comments. And thanks for watching, and thanks for being with me while I go through all of this and talk about the different kinds of makeup that's available out there. And now that I've finished, I realized that I didn't talk about eyeliner on the top. I did the bottom, but not the top. So let's back up just a little bit and talk about this. I love the Kat Von D tattoo liner in brown, and it's like a marker on the top, and it lines very nicely, very thin line, not harsh at all, and I really like it. It stays on very well. And then if I'm going to stay home, I use Merle Norman's automatic liner in brown, and doesn't stay quite as well, but it goes on very well, and it looks really nice when you wear it. So as you can see, as I've talked about all these different makeups, I don't stick with one brand at all. I am all over the place with the brands of makeup that are out there. And I think it's just because I like to change and I like to try new things, and then I go back to my favorites. So as I said before, recommendations, if you have a favorite, I would love to hear it. And these are just mine. These are my favorites. And I hope that maybe you will find some of your favorites from my recommendations too. And as always, I like to leave you with a verse of scripture from the Bible. I am a Christian. I love the Lord. I think that God wants us to take care of ourselves. This body is His temple, and not so sure what He thinks about makeup. Don't know what He would think, but I think taking care of ourselves is very important. And I've gotten so into makeup when I was in high school, junior high and high school. My mother would not let me wear makeup. So the story was, when I got into college, I drove back and forth daily for 4 years to my university. And it was only about 30 miles away. And so when I graduated from high school and started going to college, I began to bring makeup home very slowly. There was a store in the town that I would go to called Gibson's, which is very similar to a Walgreen, or I wouldn't say Target, more like a Walgreen. And so I would go in there for drugstore makeup, very cheap. I worked in the summers at a place called the Pottery and Indian Shop. It sold turquoise jewelry, so I was able to make a little money and buy clothing. And so when I started college, every month or so, I would stop and get an item of makeup. So I built it up slowly over the year, and my mother just didn't say anything to me. So I guess it was okay. Now this was in the 1970s. I graduated in 1976. So I started makeup in 1977 and gradually just kept bringing it home and adding a little bit more to my face. And I think she finally realized that it made me look better, maybe. I don't know, but that's how I started using makeup. And then from then on, it was that, I lost it. I just adored makeup and wanted to wear it all the time. And then as my little daughter grew and got older and wanted to wear makeup and started watching YouTube and got me into watching the YouTube girls putting on makeup, it just got nuts and crazy. And so I've just really enjoyed that part of life, and I just think it's kind of neat. But anyway, my verse of the day is 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 17. It's very short, and it simply says, New Living Translation, never stop praying. And that is such an important verse. And he means that don't stop, no matter what happens, no matter if you feel like your prayers aren't being answered or if things are not going the way they need to go. Maybe they're not supposed to go that way. Maybe it's going to take a little more time. Patience is a big thing when dealing with your Christian life, and sometimes what you think should happen doesn't happen, or what you wish would happen doesn't happen, but it doesn't mean you need to stop. So never stop praying. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.